Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this long-range technical forecast video for Australia, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I appreciate you giving me a little extra time today. I'm actually on a family vacation this week. We're in the north woods of Wisconsin. That's pretty far north in the U.S., and I just thought I'd show you a picture. This is what I look like for those of you that never see me, and that's my wife, Elena. Kind of looks like she's holding in my gut here a little bit. I got a couple of kids, too. This is my daughter, Amelia, and this is my son, Graham. He's out in our old boat just tooling around on the lake. But the reason why we're late is my daughter, Amelia, she decided to go go-karting tonight. And I'm just going to tell you, be very happy that you do not live in the United States right now because she's a terrible driver. Love her to death, though. So since we're talking about the U.S., why don't we start there? I just want to give you this international perspective first. This is the next 10 days forecast for the United States here in terms of precipitation anomalies, so differences from normal. And some of the most important things that have happened is we had quite a bit of rain on our upper Midwest just lately, and there's more precipitation forecast to come right through the heart of the Corn Belt. If you ever hear us talking about the I states, it's Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana. Those are some big corn and soybean producing states. We're expecting quite a bit of rainfall. We have a tropical system named Elsa that's moving right here through our Carolinas. That's these states right in through this area. And this all kind of comes together in the Northeast where we're watching for some big severe storms today. But what I want to show you in addition to this is major drought issues in the Canadian prairie. Extreme heat in the western part of the United States from California clear to the Columbia Basin of Washington. And we saw over the last 15 days temperatures here set all-time records. Some of our records go back to the late 1890s. And we're going to continue to see that heat in the west while much of the Midwest has much cooler weather. So the important thing about this is our corn is in pollination at this point, and soybeans are moving, toward those reproductive stages as well. And so it's critical to see this cooler weather and the wetter weather in this place while the heat is out west and the heat's coming through the Canadian prairie. So I wanted to keep you up to date with what's going on in the U.S. Let's take a quick trip across the pond here, and I want to head over to Europe. Where we're getting some very heavy rain, you'll see it in a few moments, is coming through France over into Germany. Really some very heavy rain in parts of Germany. But this map shows you the last 30 days of precip. And we've been quite wet just north of the Black Sea and parts of Turkey as well. But this little corner here of Ukraine has been very, very dry. And I'm going to keep an eye on that particular area. We've also had some patchy dryness in parts of the Russian wheat belt getting back into Kazakhstan as well. And if you just take a look here, this is the next 10 days in terms of temperature anomalies. While we're cool where that low pressure system's coming in, it is very, very hot in this part of Russia, northern Ukraine, inching over here toward Poland as well. And if you just take a look at the precipitation forecast, all the wet weather is in through here, and we're very dry with all that heat that's coming into this area. So we could be stressing some of the crops in that region. Finally, I want to go here to Europe, Asia, and talk to you about what's going on in India and also throughout much of China. Now, down here south of the Yangtze River, very, very dry. We've seen the dryness now encroach up toward Beijing as well. This little area in through here is called the North China Plain, and this would be the Manchurian Plain. There's a lot of crops growing in these two areas. We're much wetter in parts of the North China Plain, but drier in the interior of the Manchurian Plain. But I think what's most important to Australian weather is what's happening in India. We now start to see the northern extent of the monsoon advancing to the north. We're still dry through the Ganges River Valley and dry here, but this is going to be something that's really going to dominate the pattern here in the coming days and weeks. So if we just blow this out and look globally, okay, you got a kind of a bigger picture here of our precipitation anomalies through the next 10 days, we can see how there's going to be a relationship between the moisture in this area and what eventually comes through the storm track just to the south of Australia, and what that brings us in terms of precipitation. That's going to be the main story here for the near term. Now hang on to the end of this video because I got brand new long-range data from the European model. It's going to take us out. In fact, I'm going to show you what's going on with La Nina all the way out through the next 7 months. We'll get there in a second. Okay, I show you these graphics every once in a while, but let me explain what you're looking at here. This is time on the y-axis, so July the 6th all the way through August the 16th. And what you're looking at in color here, these blue-green colors, that represents where air is rising, and the the warmer colors here represent where air is sinking. Now, rising air gives you clouds and precip, and the sinking air makes things drier. And if you look down below, there's a map. And what I'm watching for most carefully is where the most rising motion is in the atmosphere. And it's right here over the Indian Ocean in this particular pocket. See, lots of blues above that. So that means that the advancement of the Indian monsoon is probably going to be the most dominant signal in the forecast. And you notice you just go straight, almost west, almost to the international date line, and there's much more subsidence in the Pacific. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because the front part of July here, so the first 7 days of July, the models really overdid it on precipitation. If you just go back and look at some of my previous content, or even look at some of the forecasts from BOM, what actually happened here in Western Australia, and then down here in New South Wales, Victoria, coming out of South Australia, the models forecast too wet. By how much? In some places, upwards of 25 millimeters of rain in excess. They were. So we were drier when we look at this overall. But what I'm noticing here in the coming days is we're gonna have a pretty active storm track to our south. You can already start to see that. This is what the surface winds are looking like right about the time I'm recording. So we're gonna watch a low pressure system build up here. And there's gonna be a series of them. There's the first one that they're all gonna run right down like this. On the southern half of Australia. So why don't we just get in there and take a look at that before we get into this longer range forecast. Let's blow that up a little bit so we can see it. There we go. So as we play this forward, we're getting in here through the day on Thursday. This is now getting into Thursday night and then Friday morning, very early Friday morning. So there you can see there's that low pressure system that's going to be pushing the moisture up against the higher elevation here in parts of New South Wales and Queensland. And then the second low, series of lows, is still pretty much to the south. Now, as we continue to play, this is getting through the morning on Friday. This is Friday afternoon and evening. High pressure starts to build in the central part of Australia, but we still have one exiting low here, and the next one's starting to bring in chances for precipitation down around Perth and the surrounding fields in this area in Western Australia. So as we go through the day on Friday and into Saturday morning, Saturday mid-morning, this is Saturday afternoon and evening. Now you can see the lows, right? They're both here. But at that point through the weekend, it's looking relatively dry. I'm going to take you out through Sunday. That's Sunday evening. Now let's get into Monday morning. So next week, we will watch another big low pressure system. You see the frontal boundary pushing here into Western Australia. There's a weak low that's just to the south here, adding some precip into Tasmania and the very southern edges here of South Australia and Victoria. And as we play it on forward, this goes out to next Tuesday into, let's just keep going out here to next Wednesday morning, afternoon and evening. What you notice is that most of the storm track is really kept to the south, which we expect. This isn't anything too out of the ordinary. So as we just let it go on out here, that is the name of the game moving forward. So let's add it all up and take a look at what total precip is going to look like. So if I just take you out here through the weekend, let's just stop this. There we go. How about 9:30 p.m. on Sunday? So scattered precip over here. Some pockets may pick up anywhere between 15 and some locations upwards of 40 millimeters of rain. Same thing right in through this area. Outside of that, it's a lot of scattered precip. As we play this into next week, you see the low pushing over here north of New Zealand. And then we have our second big low coming in early next week. And it's going to add to that precip total that's going to be there on, on this side of Western Australia. So overall, this is not going to be an overly wet next 7 or 8 days in total. And if we look out there just fully into week 2, we notice that the week 2 precipitation pattern is attempting to keep this corridor in through here wet, and we're drier to the north. But overall, you see the storm track is much farther to the south. So you're drier to the further north you go. Now, just a word of caution, all of our models that I've been observing have been overproducing precipitation overall. So when we see these wetter anomalies in here, let's just remember that the model performance has been a bit too aggressive with things. So just something to think about. Now let's move over to temperature. Let's shrink that up a little bit so we can see it better. There we go. This is over the next 5 days. In general, our temperatures are very close to the climatological averages. We will have overnight lows in this area, getting down to that 3, 4, 5 C range in this area, but much warmer to the north. And stepping out there to day 5 through 10, this gets us out there to the 17th of July. We're quite warm compared to average across much of Australia, closer to normal in Western Australia. Now, just to be thinking about frost, this animation, and when you see colors here, this is the probability of having a temperature below 0 C. And, it's really largely confined to the higher elevations, which we expect. But as it kind of play forward through the 8th, 9th, 10th, you just see it flashing. That's when we're, in the early morning temperatures. What I'm not seeing here is any threat of widespread frost as I go out to July 15th. Let's just keep going. 17th. 18th, 19th. We know we're just not seeing big regions of flashes, showing up there. Now, getting those temperatures down below about 4 degrees C, that's something that's a bit more common. Just, we expect that to this time of year. So I know I'm going backward in time here, but I'm just letting you know we're getting some cooler weather, but nothing at this point has got me overly alarmed about any sort of widespread frost event that could be impactful. Okay, now we got through the near-term stuff, got a quick review of the global weather and a quick review of our recent weather. Take a look at the forecast for July. Now, BOM has been actually doing a very good job overall, I think. I did a quick analysis of their performance, and I think they've been doing better than some of the global models. So let's do a comparison to get an idea here. So very high probability of being above normal in precipitation, according to BOM in through here. And what I find interesting about that is the difference for their July forecast versus the European model. Now, the European model throughout the month of July is keeping pressure anomalously low here, which means you are expecting a southerly storm track throughout the month of July. In fact, this goes from July 9th through August the 8th. So if we go from pressure, now looking over at that same 30-day time period in terms of precipitation, it is interesting to see that BOM gave this area the highest probability of being above normal, and the European model is wetter in Western Australia, wetter along our south coast, and down here through Victoria. Note how dry it is forecast to be over parts of New Zealand. So if I just review this again, this is July the 9th through August the 8th, and BOM's forecast again. This is the chance of exceeding median rainfall. Very high chance in through this area. So there are some differences here that we're going to have to pay close attention to. All right. From there, let's go out and just take a look at some, maybe the most important thing for our long range and get to those long range updates. This is the latest ocean temperature map. Now, we still see quite a bit of near normal to cooler than normal water here. But what I'm curious about is what's going to happen right in this area of the next several months. That's our El Nino, La Nina area. Before I show you, I just want to point out that right now the Indian Ocean temperatures, while we are still technically in a weekly negative IOD, or Indian Ocean Dipole, we're going to watch for those signals to change here with time. And the reason for that is because the long-range forecast from the European Center now is showing us that through July, basically July through November, we expect those ocean temperatures in the Central Pacific. It's called Nino Region 3.4. Just to be clear, so everybody knows, that is this region right in through here, somewhere in that area. So we're going to be watching those ocean temperatures likely cool back down and head back toward, a weak La Nina. And we've been having this discussion for a while, but you see the forecast ensemble plume here in general is pointing down, where maybe minus half degree Celsius, upwards of a degree Celsius below normal. That would be where we came out of this last year in January. So this is kind of a double dip here into La Nina territory. So let's just go take a look at it. The map you're looking at here is August, September, and October, and we're looking at ocean temperature anomalies. You notice how warm we are just north of Australia, the cooler water here south of India. That's the negative Indian Ocean Dipole. That's supportive of more rainfall over Australia. But as I move forward, let's just go out here, September, October, November. This is now October, November, December. Why not? Let's go all the way out there to November, December, January. What I notice is this. We tend to reintroduce that cooler water in place here. That is a La Nina signal. So we'll look for those stronger trade winds. And we tend to be warmer here and cooler on this side. And that would be negative IOD. So what's the net effect of that? Well, let me just take you back. And I tell you what, let's switch this over to just a view of Australia. There we go. And now let's look at the precipitation patterns, and we'll do a seasonal forecast. And you notice that the odds of it being overly dry are very low. So the chances of us having favorable precipitation moving through August, September, October is relatively high. And we can just keep going out here. That would be September, October, November, October, November, December, November, December, January. And we just notice here that overall the forecast is supportive of above normal precipitation. And that's what the models will do when those ocean temperatures look the way I just showed you. That's the model being very consistent with itself. So that kind of gets us through the near term and that longer term perspective. And I think with that, I'm just going to wrap this up and head back inside to talk with the family as we finish up our vacation. Appreciate y'all listening to me today, and I look forward to giving you another update here in a couple of weeks. Thanks.